Have you ever wondered why dogs love baby talk so much? Well, it might possibly be because their emotional development is basically that of a 2.5-year-old child. Um, what that means is that our dogs are able to feel very basic human emotions such as excitement and arousal, distress, disgust, fear, anger, suspicion, affection and love, contentment. What our dogs are not capable of feeling are things like pride, shame, and guilt. So if you have ever said like, oh, my dog knows that they've done something wrong, you know, because they look guilty. Yes, you might be correct. They may look guilty. However, they do not feel guilty. What they probably feel is fear or distress. And they look guilty because they're displaying body language signals that dogs display when they are feeling fear and distress. We as people are perceiving that as guilt because we are pairing something that the dog might have done when we weren't looking and how the dog looks. However, if we change our body language and the pitch and tone of our voice and how we react to things, our dogs are going to take that and they're going to have feelings towards us based on how we are acting. So, when we are communicating with our dogs, when we are looking at our dogs in any environment, in any situation, and with any behavior, it's really important to understand that they have the emotional development of a toddler. So when it comes to speaking to them, right, how would you speak to a toddler? Because I do think a lot of times we speak to our dogs as if they are adults on an equal playing field as we are. There is a lot of yelling, there's a lot of sternness, there is a lot of expectation. When in reality, we have a 4-legged 2.5-year-old on our hands. And the way that we should at least speak to a 2.5-year-old is completely different than the way that we would speak to a 25-year-old. So that excitement in our voice and the mom and dad voice, as we'll talk about when we are discussing verbal communication, right, they play a role, but yelling, certainly any sort of physical contact, hitting, any sort of correction like that, it's completely unwarranted, it's completely unnecessary. If you are doing it, you are breaking your bond with your dog. I promise you that. You are breaking that bond. You're breaking your dog down. They do not like that, and that can have all sorts of repercussions. So, highly recommend to you, if you are in the habit of yelling at your dog, that you really work on building the habit of not yelling at your dog, right? Hopefully, we're going through this course together and you are going to learn all sorts of different ways to communicate with your dog more effectively so that they respond to you more effectively. But truly, avoid yelling at your dog because they have the emotional development of a 2.5-year-old. Speak to your dog more in a way that you would a 2.5-year-old in that moment or situation. And if it's a situation that your dog is not ready to handle, then don't put your dog in that situation. Do not set them up for failure, because setting your dog up for failure is ultimately setting you up for failure. So, remember, the psychology of a dog, they're toddlers, they're furry little toddlers. They're wonderful creatures, they love us so much, but at the end of the day, they feel a very basic level of human emotion.